Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. This past week during our Bible study, we were taking a look at the Gospel of Mark, and we've been journeying through it. And we read a story that is truly fascinating. It's a story of Jesus healing a person who is deaf and mute. And how Jesus heals this person is the part that I want to talk about today. We're told that they bring to Jesus this deaf mute, and Jesus takes him aside in private. And what he does is he places his fingers in this man's ears, and then he spits on his hand, and he touches the man's tongue. And he says, in Aramaic, he says, "Be open." And then the person is healed. And if this was the only such story, that would be one thing. But if you kind of fast forward about a chapter in the Gospel of Matthew, there's another, Mark, there's another story where Jesus encounters a blind man, and we're told that Jesus spits in the man's eyes and then touches his eyes and heals him. And then again in the Gospel of John, Jesus encounters a man who is born blind, and we're told that Jesus spits in the dirt and he creates a paste of sorts, and he places the paste in the man's eyes and he heals him. And so my question, and this isn't, I'm sure anyone who's read this story would ask this question, like, why? Why would Jesus use spit to heal people? There are stories where Jesus surely, heals without having to touch. He can just heal from afar. And yet over and over in the Gospels, we see him touching people. And then in these extreme circumstances or instances, he's actually using something that we would consider really gross and very fleshy, spit, in order to heal. So our minds kind of go to different places with this. Like, why? What's the necessity for this? There are some commentators who talk about Jesus in many ways as an apothecary, someone who is using like medicinal qualities of saliva in order to heal. But even that makes you wonder, how would Jesus even know that? He wasn't trained in medicine. He was a carpenter's son, and we know him as rabbi. And yet he's using these physical props in order to heal people. Where did he learn how to do that? It's really amazing. So as we sit with this very natural intrigue about Jesus's use of spit and the why behind it, I want to invite us to think about this in a different sense. When we think about Jesus having to touch people at all, as opposed to healing from a distance, it brings you to a bigger question, which is, why even come in flesh at all? Surely God, in all of God's wisdom and power, could have brought redemption to humanity from a distance without God being made incarnate, God becoming flesh. And this, I think, is where the true miracle lies. Jesus, who experienced our humanity in its fullness, he experienced human pain. Jesus understood what it's like to long as a person for things that are unachievable or that he couldn't have. Jesus, who experienced the physical limitations of the body, he experienced death in its most horrible form. So why in the flesh? Why is this important? This year I lost a really close mentor of mine, someone who was there all along my growing up experience. His name was Bill Broughton. He died this year, and we spoke his name during the All Saints service when we spoke the names of those who've died in the past year. And a really special person. I always knew him as Uncle Bill. He, in his former life, was a Navy chaplain, a decorated Navy chaplain. But then eventually he fell in love with archaeology. And so one of the big reasons he was living in Jerusalem when I was growing up there is because he had gotten involved in different archaeological digs, and that was just a big passion of his. And he had this saying, and it was kind of like a double meaning. But he said, if you truly want to appreciate the Bible, you have to get your hands dirty. And I think about, obviously, his talking about getting in the dirt and digging and excavating, but also kind of the deeper meaning behind that. That we can't really appreciate the Bible or God unless we get in there and we do the work, we get our hands dirty. It's profound because this is exactly what Jesus showed us it was all about. That even God felt like to truly come among us and bring redemption, that is the way. Getting your hands dirty as a God of the universe, that's the only way to truly connect with the true meaning of the kingdom of God and what it means to bring beauty and wholeness and shalom to the world. And so here we have Jesus once again demonstrating a God who isn't removed from us, but a God who is intimately and in a way that is very fleshy and dirty, involved in the real mess of our lives. Because that's the kind of God that we serve. And that's the God that loves us. A God who is in our midst. Emmanuel, God made flesh. God bless you, St. John's. I love these discussions that we have. I know they're kind of one-sided, but I'm always imagining the ways in which you're receiving it and maybe thinking about these things. And I look forward to our continued growth together. I'll see you on Sunday.